Zayn Malik just joined the Call Her Daddy podcast as his first interview in 6 years, you guys. There's no denying that this year, Alex Cooper has been getting on some pretty big name guests over on her podcast, and this time she managed to get Zayn Malik. In this podcast, Zayn revealed a number of things, from his decision of leaving One Direction, how life has been now that he's a father, as well as being asked about his breakup with Gigi Hadid last year. So the teaser clip for this episode was released yesterday, and boy were people shocked and excited to see what Zayn had to say throughout this interview, especially after seeing the teaser.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Zayn.
People started lining up 5 days ago.
Zayn, you leaving the band.
All eyes were on Zayn as a solo artist.
Hitting #1 in 68 countries. I feel like we were so overexposed in the band that that's why I've took the time I have to not even necessarily do interviews, and they just said, oh yeah, you can be the mysterious one. I wasn't necessarily my personality, I'm just chill.
First and foremost, let's talk about Zayn giving his perspective on life and how it's changed since he's now become a father. He talked about his daughter Kai, who he shares with his ex-girlfriend Gigi Hadid, and said that she's inspired him to open up again. He says that the main thing he's trying to focus on is to try to be a good example to her, and that's why he's even doing this interview.
Since I've had my daughter, the main thing in my mind is trying to be a good example to her. That's why I'm even doing this interview, I used to get a lot of anxiety around having a conversation like this, and I want her to be able to look at me and be like, yo, my dad's doing this.
To say having a child has helped you overcome something that is in your day-to-day that's pretty debilitating in moments. Yeah, but you being famous and having a child, deciding to move here, I can imagine you're trying to shield her from this life that you also are still trying to figure out. Is it a lot?
I feel like there's a healthy way to do it, I'm not necessarily trying to shield her from it, because she's gonna know, she's gonna get to a certain point, she's gonna have a certain level of awareness, she's gonna know what's going on. I'm just trying to give her an option, so it's a choice for her. If she wants to be away from it, she can be out here, because I am a famous person and I get sanctuary here, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like she is going to have a lot of options, and whatever she wants to do in her life, obviously I'll support her.
For those of you who don't know, Gigi and Zayn most recently called their relationship quits in October of 2021 after a pretty scandalous situation. Their split came after rumors emerged of an alleged physical altercation between Zayn and Gigi's mother, Yolanda. The most shocking part of the interview was the very end. At the very end of the interview, Alex decided to hit Zayn with the question that most people have been wanting to know about, and that was the 2021 incident that broke out between him and his ex Gigi. He talked about why he didn't speak out against people making speculations about why him and Gigi broke up at the time, which was huge. And he also quickly added in that if he did hit Yolanda like they accused him of, that he wouldn't have gotten 50% custody of Kai.
People are reading and speculating and saying things about you, and how do you decide when to speak up and when to be silent and chill on it and not...
Were you silent or silenced?
For me, we were talking about earlier, I don't tend to get involved when people say things online, whether it's got something to do with me or whether it doesn't, because for me, my most valuable thing that I have in life is time, and that takes so much time in a toxic environment to yourself to people and justify this. And so I just kind of keep to myself. I knew what the situation was, I knew what happened, and the people involved knew what happened too, and that's all I really cared about. If anybody of a sane mind would look at the situation, I believe that you could respect that. I just didn't want to bring attention to anything, I just wasn't trying to get into a negative back and forth with her, any sort of narrative
Yolanda,
where my daughter was going to look back and read that and be able to read into it, and it would just be something that there was no point. I believe I dealt with it in the best way, like in an amicable, respectful way, and that's all that needs to be said.
Zayn was also asked about his decision-making process on leaving One Direction and how that all turned out for him mentally and emotionally, because it was a big decision to make for him at the time. I mean, One Direction was a huge boy band group that took over globally at the time.
I love how you kind of mentioned, you know, you got out at the right time. And I think that you leaving the band obviously shook the world. But I think what, again, we forget is you're a human being, and you clearly had to take care of your mental health and do what was best for you.
Yeah, I think I'd known for a minute. There was a lot of politics going on. Certain people were doing certain things, certain people didn't want to sign contracts. So I knew something was happening. So I just got ahead of the curve. If I'm being honest with you, I was like, I'm just going to get out of here. I think this is done. And I just seen it. And I completely selfishly wanted to be the first person to go and make my own record. If I'm being completely honest with you, I was like, I'm going to jump the gun here for the first time. I'm a passive dude, but when it comes to my music and my business, I'm serious about it, and I'm competitive. So I wanted to be the first to go and do my own thing. And then there was obviously underlying issues like within our friendships too. We'd been together every day for 5 years, and we got sick of each other, if we're being completely honest. So we were close, you know. We'd done crazy things with each other, and that nobody else in the world will ever understand or have them experiences that we've shared with each other. And I look back on it now in a much fonder light than I would have, you know, as I'd just left. There were great experiences, I had great times with them, but yeah, we just run our course.
Zayn also talked a lot about the stereotypes of him being called a mysterious guy and not really sharing his life as much. He says that he's pretty much just a chill and laid back guy, and he also talked about his life now that he's living in Pennsylvania. He says he finds it much more peaceful and calm for his day-to-day life as opposed to when he was living in a more densely populated area where he used to live. He mentioned the pros, how there's no paparazzi, and how he appreciates the more private lifestyle and being able to do day-to-day things without having his privacy invaded.
Of all the trendy spots that you could have picked, why Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people ask me that, like,
Good question.
Random that I live out here. I ended up coming out here with my ex a bit, like, and I fell in love with it. Like, it was just super, like, calm.
Now, on a bit more of a touchy subject, he also talked about dealing with anxiety since becoming famous at a young age. He said he loved it at a young age, but as he grew up, looking back in hindsight, it was just a quick rush moment throughout that point of his life, and that it flew by just like that. Now that he's older, he realizes why certain things played out, and everything makes more sense. Anyways, guys, this was Zayn Malik's interview with Call Her Daddy. I definitely want to know what you guys think about the number of topics he spoke about. Also, what do you think about him mentioning the Gigi Hadid breakup? Because no one really thought Alex would have hit him with that question at the very end. But I definitely want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.